Great. Well, good afternoon and welcome to this webinar on the Online Master's Program in Community Development. My name is Michael Swack and I'm the Director of the Master's Program, the Academic Coordinator, and I'm joined today by my colleague, Robin Husslage. And Robin will also be monitoring the chat box. So if you have questions, please put them in the chat box or the Q&A. We'll take questions on an ongoing basis. I'll stop and take and answer your questions. So please feel free to put your questions in the chat or Q&A and we'll answer them as we go along. So the goal today is in a fairly short period of time, in 20 or 25 minutes or so, is talk a little bit about the Master's Program in Community Development, how it works, the format, the curriculum, financial aid, a little bit about the project requirement, and to answer any questions that you have. So the Carsey School at the University of New Hampshire, the Carsey School of Public Policy, offers 3 distinct master's degrees, but as you'll see, there's some overlap and some interchange between the programs. I'm going to be focusing today on our Master's Program in Community Development, which is shortened from Masters in Community Development Policy and Practice. We also have degrees in Public Administration and Public Policy at the Carsey School. I want to start by saying that the program uses a cohort model. And what that means and why it's important is that you go through the program, generally start and finish the program with the same group of people. So you get to know people pretty well. You're in small study groups together throughout the different courses. You actually build a strong online community, which is a really important part of the educational process. It's important because the program is really a diverse group of practitioners, and that is really a strength of the program. That is people working in a wide range of community-based organizations, ranging from housing organizations to CDFIs to nonprofit health-oriented organizations. They come from all over the United States and beyond. It's a very diverse group in terms of age, in terms of Black, Latino, various immigrant types of groups, really a range that is impressive in terms of its breadth and really adds a lot to the educational experience. As you can see here, the program itself has, in that cohort model, requires you to do a capstone project. I'll talk more about that later. It has a series of courses that are skill-based courses in management, finance, and public policy. So courses in like financial management, organizational development, project management. And the goal is for you to graduate with a set of analytical skills in policy, the practical skills in working with community-based and community development organizations. So if we take a look at the curriculum to start, you'll see there are a set of 5 core courses, the integrative approaches to development, and that's the beginning course. I actually co-teach that course with faculty member Lee Farrow, and it's an attempt to get people to think about their theory of change, what actually works in community development. We look at historical examples, but also ask you to look at your own practice and develop a theory, as we believe that the theory guides practice. That you see there are also courses in policy analysis, economic analysis, organizational management, leadership, and fiscal management. We think these are all skills that are necessary to be a strong and creative worker and leader in community-based community development organizations. I should mention, and I'll say more later about it, but it's not just community organizations. We also get people from local government, state government, from educational institutions. Really a wide range of organizations are represented. The core of the program is this experiential learning you see on your screen right now, the 4 project courses, in which you actually carry out a project in your community, often through your workplace. Now, there's a lot of flexibility here and often a lot of questions. One of the questions that often comes up is, Do I have to have a project picked before I come into the program? And the answer is no. In fact, most people don't. That first term, the introduction to projects, is a time when you'll think about, develop your project, review the options that you have, and ultimately at the end of the term, decide what you're going to spend your time on for the remainder of the program in the project design and planning, project implementation, and project evaluation courses. So again, this could be something you do in your workplace, in consultation with others that you work with. Some people choose to do it outside of their workplace. They don't want to do it within their workplace. They have a particular idea in mind, maybe something you've always wanted to do. But the project courses are very detailed. Get into that a little bit more in just a second. Finally, in the curriculum, you have a series of electives to choose from. You see some of them listed there, but there are actually quite a few more. One of the things that we've done this year for the first time is change our schedule. We've actually starting a little later than we have in the past, rather than starting at the beginning of the summer. The program starts a new cohort in August, middle to end of August. And this is to enable us to conform to the online schedule of the rest of the Carsey School and the university. What this means is that you'll have many more electives to choose from, because it'll conform with a schedule where you'll be able to take electives from public policy and public administration if you choose. Before I get into the capstone, Robin, let me stop for a minute and see if there are any questions that have come up, either in the chat or Q&A.
I have a question here about, let's see, can you explain more about the Capstone project? Do you assign them, or do students come up with their own projects?
Yeah, so students come up with their own projects, and I'll go into this now as we talk about the experiential learning. Typically, you would come up with your own project. Like I said, it could be doing a project in your workplace. It could be doing a business plan, a marketing analysis. It could be developing a training program, for example, on housing counseling that you would deliver. That's one of the projects that's been done. So it's pretty wide ranging, and it's less important what the project is. It's more important that it be something that engages you, because the curriculum that you go through will apply to any project that you have. It's a chance to try something new. A lot of people say, oh, a project. We've been thinking about doing this in our organization. Why don't I make that my project? So often people in the organization that you work with get an added value to the program of you're doing work that benefits the organization at the same time as you're doing the project in your community. In some instances, people may say, can you give me ideas? Here's what I'm interested in. Can you generate ideas of what might be a good project? And we do. As I mentioned, that first term in the program, that intro course that you see on the slide here, is a time to consider your options, review projects, learn what others have done in the past as a way of stimulating your thinking. So again, you don't need to know in advance, and there's a pretty wide range of choices, and we'll help you make that choice in the project itself. So you can see here that in the beginning part of the project, part of it is identifying the issue that you're dealing with, doing surveys, interviews, focus groups, understanding better from the members of the community what the issues are, and beginning to do an analysis and literature search of who else has done this sort of work. Where has it worked well? What have they learned from it? So that first term is really doing the underlying research around what the project will look like and how you would structure it. Now, you develop a logic model. Some of you are familiar with this, in which you actually develop a plan or a roadmap for success, in which you look at inputs, activities, outputs, and outcomes. Again, there's an important distinction, and output is often measured in terms of, for example, how many loans were made. Outcomes attempt to answer the question, how are people's lives better off? So you'll develop this roadmap, this logic model that will help drive, and you'll adapt it over time. But this is part of the project implementation and monitoring, is developing a roadmap and how you will gather information to tell you how the project is going. Finally, outcomes and impacts in the evaluation. is where you again look at, well, how are people better off? And here are some of the things that you would look at in terms of the types of goals that might be achieved. So this is in the fourth term of the program, the project evaluation course, and this completes the 4-course sequence. Again, let me stop here, Robin, and see if there are any other questions about the project or the curriculum. Okay.
Sorry, I was muted.
Okay.
I was just going to say, you're going to be covering, I think in your next slides, the question was, do we offer any fellowships?
Yeah, I'll get to that in just a moment. That's a good question. Let me first review the program itself, the number of credits. So it's a 36 credit program. There's the 9 required courses, the core courses that I mentioned, and the experiential, that's the 4 project courses, and at least 3 electives, which would focus on your specific areas of interest. Again, we say career focused, meaning that in doing the program, often your employer would be involved, may provide some assistance, but you'll work closely with faculty advisors. You'll also work with people in the project groups that you'll be assigned to and do work in. And we'll also assist. We have a newsletter that goes out that gives information on the field, but also information on jobs and career support, if that's one of the things that you're interested in. Let me talk about the structure of the program. You can see here it's done through a series of online terms. Now we say graduate in 14 months, but it's important to mention that you can take this at your own pace, that some people graduate in 14 months and others decide to take longer. So you can look at a sample schedule here, but the summer 2021, the term starts, you see, actually the E-term 1, the E-term is, before that is the class before you that's in their summer term. You would start in E-term 1, fall 2021, which starts the middle of August, and can take a series of courses. The integrative approaches and the intro to project is generally what we recommend. Start with those 2 courses. And you can see there are a series of electives. So each 8 weeks, there's options of courses that you can take. And you can take, if you want, as little as 1 course a term. If you want, you can take up to 3 courses a term, depending on what your other constraints are. How much of your job, your family commitments. Again, the idea is it's not a race. You don't need to finish in 14 months. Some people do, but others say that they start by saying, I'm going to take a lot of courses and then see what it's like, and maybe too much. But the important point here is to emphasize the flexibility. To go through the program, you'll have new courses each 8 weeks. There are some breaks in between, you'll see, generally at least 10 days. And then you can see there'll be a range of elective course options as well. The application requirements you see here online for the fall August deadline is July 15th. That's in 2 months. You need a bachelor's degree, transcripts, 3 letters of reference, a personal statement, which talks about why you're interested in the program, your resume, and an application fee. We don't require the GRE. TOEFL is required for international applicants unless they studied their undergraduate degree in English, in which case the TOEFL is not required. So getting to the question about costs and affordability, you see on the screen here the cost, that's for the entire program. That's for all 4 terms combined. And essentially you pay as you go. If it stretches out further, you're paying a per credit fee. So it's that fee regardless of whether you take it in 12 months, 14 months, 18 months, 22 months. We do provide financial assistance in the form of grants. and you would apply for financial assistance, and we would notify you of that award before classes start. And through the university, you have also access to a number of student loan programs, which are generally low interest student loans. So a combination of both grants and loans are available based on what your financial need is. In addition, you may note that we have partnerships, and if you have affiliations with any of these organizations listed on our screen here, LISC, NeighborWorks, Opportunity Finance Network, we have additional scholarship money set aside based on those organizations matching. We match what those organizations put up. So those are additional opportunities. If you have questions about any of those, let us know and we can answer those questions as well. So Robin, let me stop here again and see any questions come in on financial aid or.
The question was with fellowships, the fellowships that we offer.
Right. Each year there are fellowships. The fellowships, as opposed to the scholarships, the distinction is the fellowship is that you would work with a particular program. Typically, although not necessarily, those fellowships are awarded to students in our public policy program who are residential students and who will work closely with a faculty member. However, there are instances where people in the Master's in Community Development program may have the time available for a fellowship and are certainly able to apply for those fellowships, which provide $10,000 a year to work on a specific program part-time with a faculty member. Each year there are different fellowships. Faculty members develop fellowships to work with their particular centers or on a particular project. Those are promoted typically in the spring and awarded to start in the fall of 2021 or in the fall of any year that you would begin the program.
Thanks, Michael. Another question that came up is, are all the classes self-paced or are some of the classes live? And what is the
that's
format?
A good question. So let me touch on that. Each of the classes is primarily self-paced, meaning they're done asynchronously. There are a series of assignments. They may include getting together in a group. Most of the classes have group assignments, and you can get together via Zoom or GroupMe or however you choose, telephone. I guess some people still do that as well. And but each class also has a synchronous component, meaning each week for 60 to 90 minutes, depending on the class, there'll be a time set aside, either weekly or bi-weekly, every 2 weeks, in which you'll get together as a full cohort. So if you're taking 2 classes, there could be up to 2 sessions, or likely one session, at least one session a week, in which you'll be on Zoom, face-to-face with your class members, in which primarily that time is used for discussions, cases, guest speakers, that sort of thing. The other assignments are done asynchronously, turned in online, and may include, as I mentioned, small study groups. For some of the classes, you'll be assigned a group. The assignments are often based on making sure there's a range of experience and skills in each group. Others, we'll be encouraged to form small groups to do certain assignments. They won't necessarily be assigned. Again, that varies from class to class.
Another question, Michael, is what is the average size of the cohort?
Yeah, so the average size of the cohort is around 20 people. Sometimes a few fewer, but generally, in the 17 to 22 range or so. So they're small. You'll get to know everybody in your cohort pretty well by the end, because you'll probably be in a study group with all of them at one point or another in the various classes that you take.
Great. And a follow-up question is, can you share about the demographics of the students?
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously some variation from cohort to cohort, but typically, If you look at age as a starting point, we'll have people in their anywhere from their mid-20s to their late 50s or even early 60s. It's a pretty wide range. Typically about half the class, sometimes, usually about half the class is identifies as Black, Latinx, minority, Native American. So it's a very diverse class. Typically some international, mostly U.S. based the last couple of years, but also have people from overseas who are part of the cohort. So in just about every way, it's a diverse group of practitioners.
Thanks, Michael. That's all the questions I see right now.
Okay. Yeah, finally, just a view of some of the capstones and some of the recent graduates from the program and what they're doing now. Andronico's executive director of a housing organization graduated recently. We actually asked her to teach a course in housing. She's been doing it for a number of years and runs a really dynamic organization. So she'll actually be teaching our housing course this year. And again, just a couple other examples. Again, people working in affordable housing, community development finance, various types of community-based nonprofits, governmental organizations, international NGOs, policy analysis. Again, a pretty wide range of careers. So let me see if there are any last questions before we sign off, Robin. I think we covered.
Yes, we do have a couple of questions. Can you please confirm that you only pay for the credits you are taking from semester to semester?
That's correct, yep. So when you sign up, if you're taking 3 credits in the term, you pay for only the 3. If you're taking 6, you pay for the 6. When we make a financial aid award, it's usually spread out over 4 terms. So that it's not all up front, but there's an amount each term. And that would stay the same regardless of the classes that you're taking.
And a follow-up question to that is, tuition is by credit and paid by semester.
That's correct. Okay. That's correct. So you register each term and you pay for only the classes that you sign up for.
And there are minor fees, like a registration fee each term as well. But the other mandatory fees, I think, are technology per semester. They're very modest, and maybe you can talk about the in terms of a textbook, what that ends up being in the program, Michael.
Yeah, generally minor because there typically aren't textbooks that really fit these courses. And so you will take courses through our online platform. It's called Canvas, and most of the readings will be posted right online or will have a link to where the reading is. As I recall, over the past year, there were very few required books to be purchased. That could be done through our bookstore or through any of the online bookstores. Those are available. But again, most of your required reading will be available on the website for the course.
Yep, that's all the questions I see at the moment. If you have a last minute question, just pop it in the chat box or in the Q&A box. Yeah,
and just here again is how to reach us. You have my email address there, Robin's email address, Sanjeev Sharma, who handles admissions. Please feel free to contact us if you have questions, and we would be happy to answer those questions. Mm-hmm. So thank you again for joining us today. We look forward to hearing from you, and we hope you have a good day.